I never thought a rushed taxi ride could unravel the entire world I had built. It was just an ordinary day. I jumped into the cab, panting from running late on a deadline, joking with the driver, saying I was on my way to catch my husband cheating. The ride should have taken over an hour, with all that traffic out there. But this driver, with his sharp, almost acrobatic steering, got me there in just 20 minutes. I laughed out loud, leaned back in the seat, and complimented him. "Your driving is amazing!" He didn't reply. He just pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and let the white smoke curl through the cramped space. Then he said something, his voice low like it went straight through my chest. "How long have you known?" I froze, my smile stuck on my face. "Known what?" I asked, my voice slipping a little, thinking he was just continuing the joke. But he looked at me through the rearview mirror, his eyes cold, serious, no trace of humor. "My girlfriend. With your husband." I laughed. "You're joking, right? You're the driver, and now you're joking too? Don't scare me like that." But he didn't laugh. His face was hard as stone, his voice steady. "I'm not joking. I just wanted to drive fast so I could help you." The air in the car suddenly turned heavy, like every sound outside had been sucked into a vacuum. My heart was pounding, not from fear, but from a creeping sense of dread crawling up my veins. It was just a dumb joke. Why would he say that? He pulled a photo from his jacket pocket and handed it to me. His voice came out rough, like it was dragged up from somewhere deep. But the truth is, they really did sleep together. My fingers trembled as I took the photo, though I tried hard not to show it. My brain refused to believe it, but my eyes couldn't lie. The face in the photo, that glowing smile, sharp eyes, shining hair like it was made to draw attention, was Gina Miller. Gina. 10 years ago, she was the star of our university, with a model's figure and a honey-sweet voice that made every guy turn his head. Everyone said I didn't stand a chance when both of us fell for Alex Turner, the man who's now my husband. But they were wrong. Alex chose me, not her. He said he loved my honesty, the warmth Gina didn't have. After he turned her down, she left the country, vanished from our lives. Alex and I got married, built a home, and I thought we'd be happy forever. But now, staring at Gina's face in that photo, her triumphant smile felt like it was mocking me, and my heart tightened. Number. Not Alex. Not after all these years. But then the memories came rushing back. All the times he came home late, the texts he'd brush off, the forced smiles when I asked questions, like puzzle pieces I had ignored too long. I looked up, my voice caught in my throat, but I still managed to ask, "How did you find out?" The man in the driver's seat slowly took off his baseball cap, revealing a bright, chiseled face, the kind of features that looked like they were carved from stone. His eyebrows were sharp and arched, and his deep, captivating eyes reminded me of those silver screen stars I used to get lost in watching romantic movies. Smoke still curled around his fingers as he exhaled a stream, his voice calm and low, like he was telling an old story. "I'm Sam Cooper. 6 months ago, Gina Miller and I came back to the country. We were planning to get married." He paused, his fingers tightening slightly around the cigarette, eyes staring out the windshield like he was digging into a memory. But one day, by accident, I caught her walking out of a hotel, her arm around another man. I took this photo, his voice stayed even, but I could feel a chill seep into the space between his words. He paused again, his gaze sharpening, turning cold, almost cutting. "Do you remember what your husband was doing at the exact moment I took this shot?" I blinked, my head spinning. Something from 2 weeks ago. Who remembers tiny details like that? But, as if by reflex, I pulled out my phone, fingers swiping fast across the screen. Other people write journals in words. I do it in food, on MyFitnessPal. That day, I logged chicken stir-fry with nuts, garlic shrimp pasta, green bean casserole. Alex Turner cleaned every plate, chewing and complimenting me nonstop, his voice playing in my head, now like an old recording. "I've been in meetings all day, running around outside. This casserole really hits the spot running around all day. That line echoed in my mind now, like a cruel, mocking laugh. Turns out he really was running that day, straight into Gina Miller. My hand gripped the phone so tight the joints in my fingers turned white. My mind went completely blank, like the world around me had been sucked into a vacuum. The man up front, Sam Cooper, slowly handed me a tissue, the gesture quiet but deliberate, like a silent comfort in the middle of a storm. His voice remained calm, but now it had an edge. "So, what are you gonna do?" He tilted his head, locking eyes with me through the rearview mirror, not letting me look away. "And don't give me that crap, like if he apologizes, I'll let it go, or he'll come to his senses eventually." I took the tissue and clenched it in my hand. The softness against my skin felt like a painful reminder that this was all really happening. Sam Cooper exhaled another drag, his voice firmer now, like nails in wood. "To me, cheaters are trash. They never change." His words hit me straight in the chest, like a silent punch, and I looked up with tear-blurred eyes, my voice shaking out from a dry throat. Then, "What about you? What are you going to do?" The air in the car suddenly stilled, filled only by the rhythm of our breathing and the drifting cigarette smoke. In my head, everything spun. The image of Alex smiling at the dinner table, Gina's smug grin in the photo, and now Sam Cooper's face. This stranger who, out of nowhere, had become my reluctant ally. I pretended to be a potential customer, sent a message to Gina Miller, complimenting some of the jewelry pieces she'd posted on her profile. Gina, just as I remembered, always knew how to show off. 10 years ago, she studied jewelry design in Italy, and now that she's back, she's apparently become a designer, at least on social media. Her Instagram is overflowing with images, sparkling pearl rings, glimmering gemstone necklaces, all mixed with life-sharing posts full of supposedly elegant, high-class philosophies. Every post was meticulously curated, from the lighting to the angle, as if screaming to the world that she's living a perfect life. I kept scrolling, my finger sliding over the screen. 3 days ago, she posted a photo, a steaming latte on a wooden table next to her newest pearl ring. The caption read, "Stumbled upon a new coffee shop on the corner. Today's latte happens to match my new ring perfectly." But my eyes weren't drawn to the latte or the ring. In the corner of the image, barely in frame, was a man's shirt, navy plaid, the exact one I had bought Alex just last month. My heart clenched, like someone had wrapped a fist around it. I kept scrolling. 10 days ago, Gina had posted a selfie at the gym, her hair tied up high, beads of sweat shining on her forehead, that radiant smile. The caption read, "Morning yoga session, feeling energized all day." That night, I remembered clearly, Alex was sitting on the sofa, eyes glued to his phone, scrolling back and forth like he was possessed. Then he turned to me, a strange, probing look in his eyes. "Lucy, what's your waist size now?" I gave a weak laugh, thinking he was joking. But now, staring at Gina's photo, I knew he was comparing. Comparing me to her. I kept scrolling, my breath growing heavier, fingers trembling on the screen. And then I saw it. A post from 2 weeks ago. A perfectly grilled steak on an elegant wooden table, captioned, "Reuniting with an old friend." An incredible dinner at a fantastic restaurant. That day, if I remember correctly, was our wedding anniversary. Alex had said he was away on a business trip, couldn't make it home. I had spent the whole day in the kitchen, preparing a table full of delicious dishes, only to sit alone, watching the food go cold, eventually throwing it out. Turns out he wasn't away. He was having dinner with Gina, laughing with her, while I waited like a fool. I thought about the steak in Gina's photo, imagined the smell of grilled meat, the taste of wine he probably sipped. And in a strange way, I started to wonder, how was that steak cooked? Was it better than what I made? My phone buzzed gently, snapping me out of the daze. A message from Sam Cooper lit up the screen. Gina's home now. What about your husband? Is he back yet? My fingers hovered over the keyboard, about to type, not yet. But just then, the doorbell rang. Sharp, slicing through the silence like a blade. I opened the door. Alex stood there, right at the threshold, his tall frame casting a long shadow under the hallway light. At 20, he kept his hair in a buzz cut, his smile bright as sunlight, a jacket loosely tied around his lean waist, and every movement revealed flashes of a toned stomach. At 30, he had wrapped himself in a finely tailored suit, fitted down to every stitch, his sleeves neatly rolled to the elbows, faint creases at the corners of his eyes, giving him the composed, effortless air of a successful man. From 20 to 30, I thought I knew this man by heart. But now, looking at him standing there, he suddenly felt like a stranger. Frighteningly so. Turns out some smiles are just masks, easy to take off and put on for different people. Alex loosened his tie, the motion casual as if nothing had happened, his voice gentle, familiar. Anything to eat late tonight, Lucy? I'm hungry, on his ring finger. Our wedding band caught the dim hallway light. So when he was touching Gina's body, was he still wearing our wedding ring too? I stood still, my hand gripping the edge of the kitchen counter, forcing my voice not to tremble. Why are you home so late? Alex didn't look at me. He calmly slipped off his coat, hung it on the hook, his tone flat like reading from a script. Entertaining a client. Had a few drinks. He just got divorced. His head's a mess. He walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, the white light spilling onto a face that didn't change at all, as if everything were normal, as if he hadn't just had dinner with Gina on our anniversary. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Sam Cooper appeared, each word like a bullet straight to my heart. She said she went shopping with her girlfriends. Bought a dress, $1,688, and a makeup set, over $500. Your husband is generous. Another message followed right after. Did he treat you that generously too? Just a few cold lines of text, but I could feel the fire of rage burning in every word Sam wrote. He went on, his words like they were being forced through clenched teeth. When she was abroad, struggling with the language, knowing no one, I handled everything for her. We were together 4 years. I spoiled her completely. So why did she do this to me? Of course. Doesn't everyone believe they've been sincere? That they've weathered the hard times together? I once believed Alex and I had a bond that deep, that we'd survived the lean years side by side. I believed nothing could break our love. But now, it was all just a play, and I was the only audience member who didn't know the script. I looked up at Alex rummaging through the fridge, his back turned to me. A cold smile curved on my lips, my voice quiet but sharp as a blade. Divorce? Alex's face changed instantly. He slammed the fridge door shut, spun around, eyes narrowing, his voice snapping. What's wrong with you? You've lost it? I stepped forward, my gaze locking onto him without a flicker. I meant your client, I said, my tone like ice. Why did he get divorced? Alex blinked, startled, then tried to steady himself, but I caught the flicker of panic in his eyes. He gave a weak laugh, waved his hand. Long story. Anyway, let me just find something to eat first. From that day on, it was me and Sam. We formed what we jokingly called an alliance against cheaters. Every day, we'd report to each other the whereabouts and schedules of our so-called partners. One time, I texted Sam, "Why don't you just leave her?" He replied right away, his words bitter like black coffee. I can't let it go. When it comes to looks, height, ability, even stamina, what does he have that I don't? Then he paused. Heard they had a thing back in college. What, she's feeling nostalgic now? I texted back just 2 words. Maybe so. He immediately shot back, messages popping up nonstop. Can you explain more? What exactly happened between them back then? I sighed, leaned back in my chair, and the memories came flooding in like an old film reel. Honestly, there wasn't much worth retelling. Gina and I used to be college roommates. We were really close. Back then, I had a crush on Alex, a student from another university, with a bright smile and that confident vibe. I heard he had a basketball game coming up, so I dragged Gina along to cheer. Didn't expect that would be the beginning of their connection. I was openly pursuing Alex, all his friends knew. Some even joked and called me Alex's girlfriend. He never denied it. Sometimes he'd even grin when they teased him. But over time, the whispers started. People said they often saw Alex and Gina having dinner alone, laughing like they were already a couple. Some even asked me, curiosity thick in their voice, "So when are they going to make it official?" At one point, I almost believed I didn't stand a chance anymore. But then, out of nowhere before graduation, Alex got into a drunk driving accident and broke both legs. The doctor said dead serious. If he wants a full recovery, it'll take at least 5 years. I remember watching Gina collapse into his arms, sobbing, her voice breaking. "I don't need anything. Just get better." But the very next day, Alex held my hand from the hospital bed and whispered that he'd always felt ashamed, never brave enough to return my feelings, his voice trembling like he was scared to lose me. And just like that, we became a couple. I even took a gap year to care for him. At our wedding, Alex choked up in front of everyone and said, "I'll carry your commitment with me for the rest of my life." Yet here we are, just 3 years later, and that promise has shattered into dust. I had barely finished telling the story, hadn't even sunk fully into the ache of it yet, when Sam slammed his hand on the table. Is he out of his mind? What? Does he think he's the main character in some cheesy romance movie? He's got a wife like that, and he still goes crawling back to his first love? Turns out, when Sam gets mad, not even his own girlfriend is spared. His words sliced the air like sharp knives. And strangely, it made me feel a little flustered, sitting there, quietly smiling in the dark. I hesitantly offered, "Should I insult Gina a little too?" "If you don't mind." Sam scoffed right away. "One look at you, and I know you couldn't curse someone out if your life depended on it." He tilted his chin, his voice firm. "I've already done it for you." Inside the coffee shop, we looked at each other, and without meaning to, we both burst out laughing. Our laughter echoed in the quiet space, like a shared comfort in the middle of a storm. Sam cleared his throat softly, then picked up his phone and checked the location tracking. His face darkened. His voice sank. "Well, they're at the hotel now." That night, when I got home, Alex was already there, standing in the middle of the living room, his shirt wrinkled, tie hanging loose around his neck. He looked around and frowned, his voice filled with irritation. "Why isn't there any late-night food today, Lucy?" He stepped closer, eyes accusing, like I'd committed some kind of crime. "What's wrong with you? You're home all day. You can't even take care of me properly now?" His words cut like a blade, cold and cruel. But in my head, a different voice echoed louder than his. Earlier that afternoon, I had read a forwarded message from Sam, Alex's whispered words to Gina, soft as honey. "Lucy's not as smart as you. She's not as beautiful as you. Back then, I didn't choose you because I didn't want to get in the way of your career. You went off to study in Italy. You built something for yourself. But Lucy? She just stayed in the kitchen. Other than the title of Alex's wife, what value does her life even have? Everything I had poured myself into, all the effort I made to care for this family, in his eyes, it was nothing more than charity, something that gave me the illusion of having a purpose. I remembered the signs of his indifference, the times I was busy cooking dinner and only got a dry text. Busy. The times I tried to tell him small stories from my day, but he wouldn't even lift his head from his phone, his eyes distant, like I wasn't even there. But I still remembered our wedding day, under sparkling lights, in front of all our friends. Alex held my hand and said, voice shaking, "It's because Lucy stayed by my side that I made it through. I'll treat her well for the rest of my life." Those sweet words carried me through the years, like a lantern lighting the way in the dark. Now, they were just ashes, scattered beneath the weight of his lies. I quietly wiped a tear from the corner of my eye, then smiled, my voice soft. All right, I'll go cook something. That night, I made spicy buffalo wings, beef tacos, and a hot bowl of chili soup, the spicy, rich aroma filling the entire kitchen. Alex sat down, looked at the table, nodded in satisfaction, and said, "Lucy, you're still the best." Still the best. Those two words stabbed into my heart like a thorn. Still, like I was some fallback option, a safe bet compared to someone else, someone like Gina. I rested my chin in my palm and smiled at him. So who are you comparing me to exactly when you say I'm still the best? His expression froze for a split second, but quickly, he forced out his usual smile. Compared to anyone, you're the best. I looked him straight in the eye, asking myself, then why, behind my back, are you all over Gina? I let out a quiet yawn, stood up, and said flatly, "Take your time eating." I walked into the bedroom and picked up my phone. Under the photo of the food I just posted on Instagram, comments were flooding in. "Sis, could you please share the spicy buffalo wings recipe? Or better yet, can I just try it in person?" "Thank you," I chuckled quietly, replied to a few of them, then opened my laptop. My fingers moved out of habit, editing the video clip of the cooking process, then uploading it to my TikTok channel. My channel's simple. No flashy effects, no loud music, just close-ups of food, but it's already gained nearly 1 million followers. At first, I only recorded recipes for my own reference, but slowly, I found joy in sharing. Over 400 videos across 5 years brought in ad revenue that surpassed 7 figures. I never told Alex any of it. I had planned to announce it on a special day, to surprise him with some good news. But now, I don't need to. Let him keep thinking I'm just some housewife living off him, incapable of standing on my own. Because I've still got plenty more surprises in store for him. I poured myself a glass of wine, took a slow sip, the bitterness sliding down my throat, the same bitterness I'd swallowed all these years. I logged into our joint bank account and reviewed the assets. Then I sent Sam a message. "I've got a handle on the basic asset list. Just need a few more solid pieces of evidence of the affair, and I can file for divorce. What about you? When do you plan to end it?" "Let's do it at the same time," Sam usually replied within seconds. But this time, all I saw on the screen was typing for a long while. I tightened my grip on the wine glass, my heart pounding, something in me sensing a shift. Then a photo popped up. A pregnancy test? 2 bright red lines. Sam's next message dropped like a hammer. "She says she's pregnant." Lucy. My head's a mess right now. Clearly, Alex was starting to get distracted. The next morning, at the breakfast table, he knocked over a full glass of orange juice, the golden liquid spreading across the table, soaking into his pants. But he just sat there, completely unaware. I took a bite of my toast, the melted butter coating my tongue, and smiled at him. "What's got you so spaced out this morning?" Alex flinched, his eyes blinking rapidly, like they were snapping back to reality, then suddenly asked, voice slightly trembling, "If I ever did something wrong, would you forgive me?" Oh, so he wanted to play the remorseful cheater now? I looked into his eyes and saw the panic flickering beneath the cracks of his once confident mask. Fine, I'd act right along with him, all the way to the final scene. I nodded, smiled sweetly, my voice like honey. Of course I would. Alex looked visibly moved, leaned in quickly, and kissed my cheek. "Honey, marrying you was the best thing that ever happened to me." After he left the table, stepping out with his shiny leather briefcase, I grabbed a washcloth and scrubbed hard at my cheek, as if I could erase the trace of that fake kiss. I put on a cooling face mask, the gel clinging to my skin, and texted Sam, "How's your progress?" He replied with a grumpy sticker, a cat baring its claws. And the message, "At the hospital. Ultrasound says 6 weeks. She keeps asking when we're getting married." I frowned, fingers flying across the keyboard. Is the baby yours? Sam answered instantly, his tone like he was gritting his teeth. Ridiculous. I was on a business trip 3 months ago. When I got back, I already knew she was messing around with your husband. I'm not dumb enough to believe that baby's mine. So it was Alex's. I sank into the chair, my breathing heavy, but then a thought struck me. Then why isn't she forcing Alex to marry her? The answer came sooner than I expected, and not from Sam, but through my own ears. Following Sam's instructions, I had installed a listening app on Alex's phone, something I never thought I'd do. I downloaded the latest recording, slipped on my headphones, and hit play with a slightly trembling finger. Alex's voice came through, low and full of excuses. I can't leave my wife. She's too innocent. She loves me so much. If I left, how could she possibly survive on her own? Gina's voice came next, shaky with fury. And what about me? You're just gonna abandon me? You were the one who came after me. You said you could never forget me. The audio fell quiet, a silence so sharp it felt like a blade. Finally, they both spoke at once, exhausted. As for the baby, whether to keep it or not, we'll have to think about it. Alex added, still defending himself, it's not that I don't want to take responsibility. But if I do, what about your boyfriend? He loves you too. I stopped the recording, forwarded it to Sam, and typed, listen to this. He replied immediately, huh, your husband's not completely trash, I guess. I smirked and typed back, your girlfriend either. The tone, bitter, sarcastic, like daggers we tossed back and forth. Who doesn't know how to be petty? But in that moment, I felt a strange alignment between me and Sam. Two betrayed people, standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to bring down the ones who had trampled all over our trust. I sent the recording to the lawyer. She replied quickly, her voice professional but sharp. It can definitely be used as evidence of Alex's affair. But it might be illegal, Sam messaged too, his tone filled with resolve. If Gina throws a fit when we break up, I'll use that recording to shut her up. We went over every detail of the divorce plans. The breakup had to be clean, decisive, no dragging it out through pain. But apparently, Alex and Gina had reached some kind of agreement too. Their newfound desire to preserve the family was so obvious, anyone could see it. That afternoon, Alex came home earlier than usual, holding a small gift box. He smiled and handed it to me. For you? Not long ago, he had sneered, you're just at home all day. No need to buy so much jewelry. I smiled and accepted it, my fingers brushing the smooth pearls, but all I felt inside was bitterness. While he was in the shower, I snapped a picture of the necklace and posted it to his Instagram. I never knew what simple happiness meant until I met you. My dear wife, you deserve all of my love. Alex rarely posted anything, but within 10 minutes, the likes were pouring in, notifications ringing nonstop. Someone commented playfully, Alex rarely shows off his wife, but when he does, it's this sweet. When he came out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around his waist, he picked up his phone and froze, his face turning pale. Why did you? It was nothing. Why post it? I feigned confusion, mumbling softly. Sorry, I was just really touched. He couldn't blame me. He furrowed his brows, forced a few awkward chuckles, his voice strained. It's fine. I'm gonna take a work call on the balcony. I watched his figure rush outside, the night wind pushing through the glass doors, and texted Sam. Sorry, I think I just pissed off your girlfriend. Sam replied with a smiling emoji and a message. Thanks. Otherwise, she was gonna cook me some romantic dinner. With her cooking skills, I wouldn't dare touch a fork, he'd once told me bitterly. When we were dating, I handled all the housework, spoiled her. Gina literally never lifted a finger around the house. I hesitated for a second, glancing toward the kitchen where the smell of food still lingered, wondering if I should let Sam try my cooking someday. I remembered a few years ago, I used to love hosting, often invited friends over to eat, laugh, share stories. But Alex had disapproved. Why do you always want to invite people over, socialize all the time? My mom's always careful with appearances. You should learn from her. So I slowly drifted away from friends, and with too much free time on my hands, ended up pouring myself into filming, cooking videos for TikTok. I smiled quietly and sent Sam a few pictures of the dishes I'd just made. I cooked these. Free someday? Let's have a little cook-off? He played along, replied instantly. Let's wait until we're both officially back to single life. Maybe this is what people call comrade in arms, our little alliance against cheaters. I scrolled absently through my phone, thumb gliding over the screen, and suddenly saw Mike Johnson post in the old Facebook group, Gina Miller's back in town. Let's meet up this weekend. I glanced toward the balcony. Through the glass, Alex's reflection looked relieved, a soft smile on his lips. Clearly sweet-talking Gina after my post. Just a few minutes and he's already got her back? I smirked and a thought sparked. I opened the balcony door and called out, Honey, do you remember Gina, my college roommate? You used to say she wore so much makeup, she looked like a stage actress. She just moved back into town. Let's go see her this weekend, yeah? Alex whipped around, his face frozen, phone nearly slipping from his hand. I smiled, closed the door behind me, leaving him alone with the night breeze. The game had only just begun. Act 9. Before we arrived at the hotel, Alex was already grumbling in the car. When did I ever say your college friend wears too much makeup and looks like a stage actress? If she hears you say that, she'll be pissed. I looked at him, calm and even-toned. It's just the two of us talking. How would she ever find out? His mouth opened, lips moving. But of course, he couldn't come up with a single good reason to argue back. He just muttered something under his breath and stepped harder on the gas. The welcome dinner was held at an upscale hotel with 7 or 8 of our old college friends, most of them bringing along their spouses and kids. Laughter filled the air, blending with the faint aroma of wine. Mike Johnson led the Gina Praise Parade, his voice booming across the table. She studied design in Italy, super prestigious, and she even landed a spot at one of the top jewelry firms in the world. In reality, I had already reunited with Gina a long time ago through Sam's videos and audio recordings. But facing her in person still brought a strange, fresh rush. She sat there, perfectly made up, radiant smile on full display. I raised my glass first, the soft clink of crystal echoing, and looked her straight in the eyes with a smile. Hey, Gina. Remember me? Remember that time I dragged you to watch my husband's basketball game? I heard there was some drama between you two back then. Honestly, it's better to say things openly. Clears up misunderstandings. The second the words left my mouth, the room fell into dead silence. Even the sound of cutlery scraping on plates stopped. Everyone turned to look at us, eyes wide with shock. It was all exactly as I planned. In their minds, Gina and Alex had just been close a decade ago. Some may have noticed something odd at the time, but with so much time passed, all signs had faded. I was deliberately dragging those memories back up now, so when I eventually brought up divorce, they'd already have their suspicions. That's right. I wasn't the one who did wrong. I needed the entire room to lean in my favor. At that moment, Gina's eyes darted away, lips pressed tight. Alex quickly stood up, placing a hand on my shoulder, half to soothe, half to stop me from saying more. He whispered, Lucy. But I gently shrugged him off, stepped forward, and raised my glass. I'm really happy these days. I heard you're getting married soon, too. Let's just leave the past in the past, yeah? Gina, here's to you, I toasted her directly, my voice clear and firm. To family, no regrets, and success. Then I pulled Alex over too, making him raise his glass as well. Gina's eyes snuck glances at Alex, filled with silent pleading and fragile tension. I pretended to be tipsy, wrapped my arm around Alex, and beamed at her. My husband's amazing, ambitious, and perfectly faithful. Just a few days ago, he even surprised me with a pearl necklace. The more I bragged, the paler Gina's face got. her hand clenched tightly around her wine glass. Alex looked panicked, wanting to interrupt but too afraid to give anything away. Stuck, sweating. Honestly, in my eyes, Sam was every bit Alex's equal, maybe even more. Just one photo, and he traced the entire web of secrets, showed up outside my building, and became my unexpected ally. Smart, bold, and tactical. Impressive. But for some people, the words, "what if," are pure torture. They'll keep obsessing. If they'd chosen differently back then, would their lives be better now? But it's not about some deep, lost love. It's greed. To them, there's no such thing as the best. The only thing that ever mattered was the one they didn't get. That's what they turn into the best in their minds. I pretended to take a phone call and quietly stepped away from the dinner table, out into the dim hallway. As expected, I heard the sound of Gina sobbing near the stairwell. "Alex, I'm keeping the baby. The doctor said my health won't allow a termination. You need to make a decision. Otherwise, I'll go straight to your house and tell Lucy the child is yours." Alex was frantic. "What if you just go ahead and marry your boyfriend first?" "Have the baby. The kid can have two dads. Twice the love. Isn't that better?" Without flinching, I recorded the entire exchange and immediately sent it to Sam. "I figured it out. Your girlfriend's just dumb. But my husband? He's the real piece of shit." Sam's reply came with his usual dry sarcasm. Trash attracts trash. Just then, my phone buzzed again, screen lighting up with a new email. I opened it quickly, a recent health report. My eyes scanned the latest results from Alex's fertility test. My brow furrowed, heart pounding. Wait, I just got the lab results. Something's off. My husband has severe teratozospermia. It's physically impossible for him to conceive naturally, which means there's only one explanation. That baby belongs to a third man. Act 10. Sam and I suddenly became as serious as if we were cramming for finals back in college, combing through every detail of Alex and Gina's schedules, cross-referencing times, messages, locations, like two detectives chasing down a lead. And sure enough, a crack appeared before long. After one of her dates with Alex, Gina booked another room at the same hotel. Sam and I stared closely at the grainy hotel security footage he managed to obtain. The image was blurry, but it was unmistakable. A tall man in a white shirt, walking out with Gina, her arm wrapped around his, grinning from ear to ear. For a moment, I didn't know who to feel sorrier for. Sam, betrayed twice over, or Alex, still blissfully thinking he was living the dream with his long-lost first love, not realizing he wasn't even the only one she was cheating with. I placed a serious hand on Sam's shoulder, voice low in the quiet cafe. "Can I give you some advice? You should break up." Today, that night, I still laid out a lavish dinner for Alex. Stuffed mushrooms with gooey cheese, fragrant French-style wine-braised chicken, and Spanish seafood rice, each grain glistening under the light. I smiled sweetly, asked, "Is it good?" Alex nodded, answering with a calm face, but his eyes kept darting away. "It's really good." Yet the second he lowered his head, I saw his brow tightly furrowed, definitely because of Gina. Earlier that evening, Sam had messaged me with an update. I showed her the video of her and that guy leaving the hotel. She cried like crazy. "I've kicked her out of the house." I glanced at Alex, still silently eating, and quickly typed back, "Yeah, he doesn't look much better." Just then, the doorbell rang. Alex sprang up like he'd touched fire, rushing to open the door, almost dropping his plate. I didn't flinch, fingers still typing to Sam. "Your girlfriend just showed up at my house." Sam responded instantly, adding a deadpan smile emoji. Correction, ex-girlfriend. Outside, I heard the muffled sounds of a struggle. Through the crack in the doorway, I saw Alex trying to push Gina away, gripping her shoulders tightly, his voice a frantic whisper. "Gina, what are you doing here? Go! Leave!" He was terrified I would see, that I would start suspecting, but I simply smiled and stepped forward. Gina, come in. She entered crying, rattling off some dramatic story about a breakup, carefully omitting the real reason and blaming it all on Sam. He's got a terrible temper. He even hit me once. I glanced at the deep bruise on her leg. Too perfectly shaped. Just a dab of dark eyeshadow, no doubt. I had to hand it to this pair of performers. Alex, clearly rattled inside, was still managing to play the part of the composed man comforting his wife's old friend. And Gina, cheating with two men, yet still acting like the innocent one, running to a college classmate she hadn't seen in 10 years for help. And me? I knew the entire story, and still managed to smile, nod kindly, and pretend to be the attentive friend listening to her sob story. It was late. Time to drop the curtain on this performance. I turned to Alex and said softly, "Honey, Gina doesn't have a place to stay tonight. Let's let her crash here." I pretended not to see the way their eyes locked with unspoken panic. Alex nodded stiffly. "Yeah, sure." Gina mumbled her thanks, fingers twisting the edge of her shirt, eyes refusing to meet mine. Back in my room, I scrolled through my phone. The cooking video I'd just posted on TikTok had already pulled in thousands of views and a flood of comments. "Sis Lucy, that wine chicken looks amazing. Where's the recipe?" I smiled, replying to a few. Even while planning a breakup, I still made time to spend 2 hours in the kitchen. I texted Sam, "Did you actually hit her?" He replied instantly, "Wanted to." Didn't. Good. No way I'd let someone like her stain my principles. I smirked and wrote back, "Honestly, your principles could use a little flexibility." But I knew he was right. I kept an eye on the time, stepped back into the living room, phone still on, group video call active. Just earlier, I'd started a Facebook group with a few old friends, under a very innocent pretense. Let's find ways to support and comfort our friend, who just suffered domestic abuse. So when I opened the door and saw Alex and Gina kissing, lips pressed together, the screams from the phone's speaker cut through the room like glass. I tossed the phone onto the nightstand, camera facing perfectly toward them, catching every detail as the dim light cast shadows over their stunned faces as they pulled apart in panic. I stormed toward Alex, voice breaking into a cry. "Alex, do you even have a conscience? What did I ever do wrong to you? 8 years. I stayed by, your side through everything. When you broke your legs, I took care of you day and night without missing a beat. When your startup failed, I stuck by you in that shitty apartment with peeling walls. And now this. You cheat on me, with my best friend. Ever since I found out about the affair, I told myself over and over again, stay calm, don't lose it, stay rational, don't let emotion take over. He's trash. All I have to do is throw him out with the rest of it." But in that moment, faced with what I'd just witnessed, the tears came anyway, cheap and worthless. But still, those years, I gave them everything Alex truly panicked. He lunged toward me, trying to wrap his arms around me. "Honey, it was a mistake." But Gina pushed him aside and grabbed my hand. "Please, Lucy, let us be together, me and Turner. We can give you a lot of money." I looked into her eyes and saw it. Desperation mixed with calculation. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't so stupid after all. Because yes, I did want to get away from Alex. And yes, I did want to take every last cent I could from him. But was that enough? Number. I wanted everyone to know that this man had betrayed his wife. Mike's voice rang out from the still open phone I'd left on the table, his tone laced with disappointment through the speaker. "Gina, I'm really disappointed in you." What mattered more? Mike's husband happened to be the HR director at the jewelry company where Gina worked. I'd heard he had pulled a lot of strings to get her in, and had looked out for her ever since, with plans to help her rise further. But now I was sure of one thing. Gina's career path was probably about to hit a wall. 30 minutes later, Alex and I sat across from each other in the study, the air between us heavy like a closed-door courtroom. His voice was pleading. "I don't want a divorce. It's all my fault, every bit of it. But Miller is carrying my child. I can't just turn away. Lucy, you don't have parents anymore. You more than anyone should understand that a child can't grow up without a father. This man, the one who shared my bed and my life for so many years, this is who he was. He knew every soft spot I had and chose this moment, when I was most vulnerable, to strike, sharp and ruthless. I nodded slowly, locking eyes with him. You're right. A child shouldn't grow up without a father, so let her give birth, and we'll adopt the baby. I'll raise it like my own. His eyes lit up, and I caught the flash of relief on his face, like a weight had been lifted. He smiled, relaxed. Green, you're amazing. I don't want to lose you either. I'll talk to her. I looked at him and saw it so clearly. That smile was full of calculation. I knew then, these past few weeks, he hadn't been tormented by guilt or love. He just didn't want to lose either of us. The whole first love, never forgotten thing. Once he had her, what was left? And me, the obedient wife, the one who took care of him all these years, calm, compliant, forgiving even when I caught him cheating, was the safer bet. But if there's a Gina today, there will be another tomorrow. Then what? I cleared my throat softly, my voice gentle. For now, we need to be united, as husband and wife, to deal with everything outside. Let's finalize the divorce first. You transfer all the assets to me. Once the baby's born, we can remarry later. The moment I mentioned money, Alex hesitated. His eyes darted away. Lucy, are you sure about this? I pressed in, firm but still sweet. And Gina, let's make sure she doesn't cause trouble and damage your reputation. I took out my phone, opened an old video. The light from the screen spilled across his face. It was a vlog I'd made the year we got married. Over 200 photos documenting every stage of his accident, surgery, and recovery. And in every single stage, I was there. He was in pain after surgery, sleepless. I stayed awake with him. He was depressed during rehab. I held his hand and never let go. When we couldn't afford the hospital bills, I worked 2 jobs and even sold the house my mother had left me. When he could finally walk again, he proposed to me, tears and laughter mixing together as we hugged under the soft yellow lights in that hospital hallway. The final clip in the video was our wedding, our vows. Back then, I truly loved Alex. But now, that love had become the very leverage I needed to walk away for good. Maybe Alex had long forgotten those days. He choked up, eyes red. Lucy, how could I forget? You've given me everything. Yes, I had once given him everything. When I loved him, I gave all I had to become the wife he wanted. And now that I no longer did, I revised my divorce plan over and over until not a single loophole remained. I gently brushed his hair back, like soothing a child. Then listened to me. Let's get divorced. That night, we quickly finalized the settlement agreement. While his heart was still soft, I secured the majority of the money. Act 12. Stepping out of the county courthouse that day, the sun blazed brightly, casting golden light down the stone steps like a warm welcome into freedom. In contrast to my calm demeanor, Alex looked completely shaken, hollow, eyes dazed and staring into nothing. He turned to me, his voice hoarse. Lucy, let's grab lunch together. Before I could answer, I saw Gina. Over the past few days, she had clung to Alex like a shadow, never more than half a step behind. Maybe it was early pregnancy nausea, but she looked pale, thinner than before, with dark circles under her eyes. She held her belly, still completely flat, and stepped forward, cutting in. I want to go too. Alex's face tensed with annoyance, but because of the baby, he softened his voice, coaxing gently. Don't be like this. I need to talk to Lucy post-divorce, and he suddenly remembers how to be gentle. I gave a cold smile and said flatly, Go with her. I already have lunch plans. Alex frowned immediately, his voice suspicious. With who? Guy or girl? You never really had friends. I shrugged and walked away without looking back. I do now. That friend was, of course, Sam. That afternoon, I cooked the meal myself. The aroma of good food filled the room. A fresh salad, perfectly grilled steak, and a silky, melting chocolate mousse. Sam sat across from me, lifted his wine glass, and said warmly, "Congratulations." I curled my lips into a smile. My gaze relaxed, and replied, "To both of us." Sam was in great spirits that day. He savored every dish I made, complimenting everything. Then suddenly, he slammed his hand on the table with a laugh. "I just reconnected with an old friend from back in the day. He's launching a food startup and partnering with food bloggers to develop products. It's taking off. Honestly, your taste and cooking are amazing. He'd love this. But your social following's kind of small. That could be tricky for business. I do have fans. A few million, actually." The plate in Sam's hand clattered onto the table. He stared at me, eyes wide with shock, jaw dropped. He abandoned the lunch entirely and immediately called his friend. When talking business, Sam transformed. His eyes lit up, voice sharp and focused, energy surging. A few minutes later, he covered the phone and asked, "Lucy, how much startup capital could you pull together?" I raised my hand, holding up 5 fingers. $500? I shook my head. 5 million! His eyes went even wider. Seriously? I smiled openly. Didn't have it before. But I just got divorced. The settlement money Alex gave me turned out to be the perfect seed fund. I met with the head of a manufacturing facility. He sat across from me, documents in hand, sounding intrigued. "Your recipe is unique. We can test a few flavor lines in the market and see how customers react. If it goes well, we'll scale up." We finalized the terms quickly. At the same time, I filmed the entire product development process and posted it online to draw attention from my followers. I was swamped. My phone buzzed constantly with notifications. Meanwhile, Alex was frantically texting and calling me. "She burned the kitchen just making porridge. She spends money like water and has no sense at all. Honey, I really miss you." Turns out, Alex probably used to complain about me to Gina in the same way. All she knows is cooking. She's useless beyond that. She's gotten fat, her waist has rolls. I'm too embarrassed to introduce her to my friends. I had never hated him more than I did now. I turned to Sam and asked coldly, "Are you ready? It's time for you, the ex-boyfriend who got cheated on, to go find Alex and open up to him." He shrugged. "Still haven't figured out who the third guy is." I smirked. "Well, I have." That same night, the night I softened Alex with sentiment, I rewatched our old love vlog. The grainy footage filled the screen, and the more I watched, the more something felt off. My heart started pounding. Later, it hit me. In one of those photos, there was a face I couldn't shake. It took me several nights to place it. 9 years ago, the man who, accidentally, hit Alex with a car. 9 years later, he appeared again, walking into a hotel with Gina. I tore through my old files, hunted down every piece of information. Then I dug deeper into his name. The truth finally came out. That car accident? It all traced back to Gina. Back then, she had been dating 2 men at the same time. Her official boyfriend was the son of a wealthy family. In a fit of jealousy, he had rammed the car straight into Alex. Gina went abroad only because that same boyfriend had found someone new. But before dumping her, he threw her a generous parting gift. I gave Sam a mission. Tell Alex that man's name. Yourself. I wanted Alex to connect all the dots on his own. And I waited for the perfect moment to send him the results of his fertility test. I imagined chaos on Alex's end. Shouting, broken glass, things falling. And sure enough, a few days later, I heard Alex had confronted the man who hit him, which led to a fight. The neighbors called the cops. And in the end, both men were detained. Honestly, a part of me wanted to visit him, just to see with my own eyes how wrecked the man who destroyed our marriage had become. But I've been busy. The factory wanted me to develop a new spice formula ASAP. Calls and meetings nonstop. I don't want to waste any more mental energy on that mess. On the day my first BBQ rub officially launched on Amazon, Alex came to find me. He looked like a mess. Stubble on his chin, face worn out. His voice was gravelly. Lucy, I'm so tired. When do we get back together? He looked pathetic. And frankly, he was. After getting detained, his boss looked at him with disappointment. Add in a jealous coworker playing dirty, and Alex got reassigned, removed from his key role, just one short step from being fired. Love failed. His career crumbled. And only then did he remember how warm I was. But where did he find the nerve to think I'd take him back? I used to imagine confronting him, unleashing all my pain, screaming, letting it all out. But then I reminded myself, if I've decided to walk away, I'll walk away looking my best. There's no need to cry till my makeup smudges, no reason to make myself look pathetic. Him showing up like this? I expected it. I pulled out my phone, showed him the photos. The screen lit up with sharp clarity. Alex stood there in silence, his hand trembling, face pale. I could hear his breathing, short, ragged, tortured. He gritted his teeth, face twisted with regret. How did you get these? It was Sam, right? I knew it. He found me. Of course he found you too. He was panicked, frantic, unraveling. In that moment, he looked utterly destroyed, unable to believe the depths he had sunk to. But the truth was right in front of him, and there was nothing left to deny. What more was there for me to say? Oh, just one thing. I looked him in the eye, my voice calm. From now on, don't come looking for me again. Let me exist in my own world and quietly shine. I sold off all my property, moved to a new city. Sea breeze swept in through the windows of my new apartment. Part of it was for work, closer to meetings and partners. But mostly, it was to create physical distance from Alex. I didn't want his shadow anywhere near me. Still, once in a while, through old friends, I'd hear scraps about him. Lost his job, had to join a smaller company, spent his days in depression, stuck in a tiny office, staring into space. I didn't care anymore. My mind was busy with a new recipe, the scent of spices drifting through the test kitchen. My life now was all about new videos, soaring view counts, and best-selling product packages. I was shining in my own world, with no need for anyone to define my worth. And Alex, he was just a part of the past, fading slowly with time. These days, Sam had been going through a lot because of me. He helped me reach out to partners, reviewed contracts, even negotiated with the production factory when I was busy filming. When things finally settled down, he had to return to Italy for a new project. Before leaving, we met at a small seaside cafe, and Sam seemed a bit reluctant to part. His eyes tinged with a quiet sadness as he looked out at the horizon. When we said goodbye, standing next to the waiting taxi, the sea breeze blew his hair into a tousled mess. Sam opened his arms slightly, his voice low and hesitant. Can I get a hug? There was a trace of shyness in his voice, his hands lingering awkwardly in the air. I simply smiled, shook my head gently, then walked over to the trunk, pulling out a craft paper bag, the faint aroma of spices escaping from it. A hug I can't give. But spices, I can. Sam looked at me for a long moment, his gaze deep and still. It felt like he had expected that. He slowly lowered his arms and smiled faintly. To be honest, when I first met you, I hesitated. I was afraid you wouldn't survive the truth, and that you'd fall apart. But Lucy, you really surprised me. His eyes were calm, but burning underneath, like he wanted to say something more profound. But both of us chose not to spell it out. What exactly that surprise was. Sam took the bag, flipped through the spice packets, his fingers brushing over the labels I had designed myself, then joked softly, So, what flavors are these? I laughed too, the ocean breeze playing with my hair. If I had to get a little poetic, they're the pain I once carried, now turned into something I'm proud to taste. He laughed out loud, his voice ringing in the still air. then nodded, as if he understood every word I said. Some encounters start off badly, like the night Sam and I sat in that taxi, two strangers betrayed, snapping at each other through messages. So maybe meeting, then parting quickly, was the best way it could have gone. I watched Sam climb into the taxi, the paper bag held tight in his arms, and his silhouette slowly disappeared. I turned and walked back to my new apartment, the scent of the sea still clinging to my clothes. My life now was about those spice packets traveling the world, those cooking videos with millions of views, and a version of Lucy stronger than ever. Yes, it was really time to close that chapter. I stood in front of the mirror, morning light filtering through the curtains and casting a soft glow on my face. No more dark circles, no trace of sadness left in my eyes. I brushed back my hair, tied it up high, and stepped into the kitchen, where the scent of herbs and dried chili still lingered in the air. The spice jars lined up neatly on the shelf, each one a fragment of the journey I had walked through, from days of pain and betrayal to the moments I stood back up, hand gripping a wooden spoon, turning every wound into a flavor worth remembering.